Good evening, everybody. We will go ahead and get started now. Welcome to the Westminster City Council Candidate Forum, hosted by the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. We're glad that you could join us tonight for this very important community event. My name is Jamie Chavez. I'm the President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank a few people who are here. Alberto Garcia, former Mayor Pro Tem, Rich Seymour, former City Council, Tim Kaufman, former Jeffco Treasurer, Ken Chancho, former Adams County School Board, Tyler Quick, candidate for Adams County Commissioner, Lori Goldstein, Adams 12 School Board, Councillor Ireland, Westminster Council, and Herb Atchison, former mayor. Thank you all so much for being here. I apologize if I've missed anybody. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize and thank the members of our Candidate Forum Committee, starting with our chair, Mike Litzow. Where's Mike? Sitting out here somewhere. Thank you, Mike. And our Government Affairs Committee Chair, Tracy Kraft-Tharp. Thank you, Tracy. And then also committee members Karen Frazone and Dave Carpenter. Their hard work and dedication has made tonight possible. I'd also like to thank Parker Brown, Westminster Chamber Board of Directors Chair, for being our timer tonight. So here's how the evening will run. We will begin with our city council candidates. Following that, we'll move into our mayoral candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question that they're given, and the order of responses has been randomly selected to ensure fairness. To make sure that tonight's forum runs smoothly and that every candidate has a chance to share their views without interruption, we ask that the audience avoid clapping, cheering, booing, or making any other comments during the program. And then please silence your cell phones as well. At the conclusion of the forum, we kindly ask that everybody move all conversations outside of the building. We're required to vacate promptly after the event ends, so we appreciate your cooperation with that. And now it's my pleasure to introduce tonight's moderator, Brian Head, who is a strategic advisor for the Westminster Chamber. Brian will guide us through the evening's discussion and ensure that all candidates have the opportunity to share their perspectives with you. So join me in welcoming Brian. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. As moderator, my job is to stay out of the way as much as possible. You have 2 minutes to make your opening remarks, followed by 2 minutes to answer each question. The timer is right there. At the end of your time, if you're still talking, I will stop you and move to the next speaker. If I do that, please stop right then. Outside of that, after 3 candidates have answered a question, I'll repeat it so we kind of stay on track that way. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask Mr. Johnson to kick us off with your opening remarks. 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting us, and thank you for the city for letting us use this space. My name is Jack Johnson. I'm a Westminster resident and a 6th-generation Coloradan, and I'm a civil rights lawyer, and I'm running for City Council, and I'm happy to do that. I began this journey to City Council growing up, enjoying Colorado's public lands, and with 2 parents who are both public servants, and I grew up with this passion for public service. Immediately after college, I went to law school, and from law school, I started practicing law, doing disability-related civil rights law. And so every day I get to meet and see people in our community and across the state who have challenges in their lives. And I get to work with them to solve those challenges. And that is an incredibly rewarding job. And this year I decided to run for City Council because we are in an incredibly turbulent time to live in this state and in this country. And that turbulence means that it is more important now than ever before to have strong leaders and leaders who understand how to guide and steady the ship to make sure that we return to what government used to be. Government is where we get in a room just like this and we solve problems for everyday people, just like the people that I serve in my work. And so when I decided to run, I decided to explore, what are the issues that I see people are facing in our community and how can I help address those issues? And there were 3 really important things that stood out. First of all, it is unaffordable to live in this city for many people, whether it's working in this city, commuting into this city, or living in this city. I've met many people who live in unincorporated Adams County on the south side, which is where I'm from, who moved out of the city because it's unaffordable to live. And second, many people have lost faith in the government's ability to do its job, and I think it's important for our leaders to restore that faith. So I'm happy to be here tonight and excited to answer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Calavity.
Hello, my name is Karen Calavity, and I've run a couple times before, and I'm running again because I see some of the same issues still being problems. I wouldn't say I'm a public servant per se, but I do feel a calling to use my knowledge and my expertise to better our environment, to better people's lives, and I think I can do that. Some of the same issues that I see that have drawn me in the past to serve on City Council are housing, environmental issues. As Jack mentioned, housing is unaffordable, and this mantra that if we build more, if we build close together, that will make housing affordable is garbage. I've seen destruction of natural areas and no cheaper housing, no more affordable housing, and I think there is a better way. I think we're misusing a lot of our natural resources. I would like to see the South Westminster, the historic Westminster, restored to a thriving area, and I think we can use the resources, the buildings and the amenities there to good advantage. Also, a new subject is my husband died 6 months ago. He was he was 19 years older than I, and I see the challenges for older people in our society, and rather than warehousing them in assisted living or nursing homes, I think we can keep people in their homes, but I think our recreation centers could be better equipped to help with that, and I would like to work on that.
Mr. Duanis.
So first, sorry for your loss. I'm here tonight with all of you. You guys came out here, are basically spending your night coming out to see this forum. People online will be able to view this forum, and you guys have put this all together. You are the people that we should be, thanking for being involved in the city. The city needs more people like you. They need people to vote. They need people to be active. They need to be out here communicating what they want out of city council. So, as I said before, my name is Jeremy Nuanis, right? I'm an engineer. I have a master's degree in computer science. I still am an Eagle Scout. I was a former firefighter. I'm the chief architect of a team of engineers that I have to lead. I have to make very responsible decisions on every single task that I take on at work. I also am very fiscally conservative. You can ask my wife. She's sitting right there. She knows what a Scrooge I am. And that's why I'm running for city council. I see a few things that, I just don't like. I've watched city council meetings for probably the last month every night in my basement, trying to study more and more about what's going on in the city. And the things that you can see going around here is that every night I watch the same 6 people vote yes for the proposals that come across the desk. The same 6 always do the exact same things. And to me, it seems like we need diversity in city council, something that I would bring to the table. The current city council, I don't know if you know this, but they borrowed $43 million to build a courthouse.
That's your time. Ms. Nurmela.
Sorry.
Thank you to the Chamber and to the community for coming out tonight. I currently sit as your Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm running for re-election. And just a little bit about me, I am a mom of 3, and my husband and I moved here 14 years ago to build our family. And I have not stopped working for Westminster since I got here. It has always been my dream as a city planner to work for and contribute to the community in which I live. And I've had the honor to be able to do that for Westminster. And my career has spanned over 25 years working for cities in city planning and economic development. Part of that was 8 years for the city of Westminster. I did our first comprehensive plan, which tied together land use, transportation, parks and recreation, our water resources and infrastructure. And that brought for me a full understanding of all of the constraints and the opportunities that we live with and have to think about as we make each decision on this dais every week. I also built the first phase of the downtown development, so I truly understand what it takes to get development off the ground, but also why, what is behind that, what's under the ground, what makes it healthy, and how does that impact our fiscal resilience and health over time. So why am I running? It's still running. One, I love this community, and I have children that I want to be able to live here and enjoy the high quality of life that we have well into the future. And we can only do that when we are thinking about the choices that we make today and how they impact our ability to pay for these high quality services that we are able to provide now. And that's a whole ecosystem of what are we budgeting now, what are we paying for and paying into, and how does that impact our ability to pay later. So more to come. Thank you.
Mr. Romero.
Hi, everyone. I'm Philip Romero, and as you can see, I'm running for city council. I'm a pastor, and I'm a director for a school, and I am your neighbor. I'm not a career politician. I live here, and I raise my 5 daughters, and I know what you're thinking. My retirement is slipping out of my hands. I serve this community as best as I can, and I hope I'm doing a good job. I've walked your doors, and I've met you one-on-one. To the neighbors of Countryside, to Kingsmill, to South Westminster, I've heard your worries about development, about preserving open space, about taking care of our fire department and our police, about protecting our environment. I've even heard your concerns about the Countryside Creek and its overgrowth out there. I've heard about the late night noise that keeps us up and the traffic problems, the little things that make our daily lives harder, hey? You've told me your stories, not just at your doors, even through your messages at Nextdoor, and I do like them. And many of you have become more than neighbors. You've become my friends and even family, and I truly mean that. So many of you have welcomed me into your homes, into your conversations, and even at your dinner table, and I love you all for that. And that's why I'm running for City Council, to be your voice, to fight for you, and to make sure you're heard. This is our city, the city we love. And we will move forward together, not divided by politics or background, but united as one community. Together, we will build stronger, and we will make Westminster everything we know it can be. So thank you.
Ms. Stroud.
Hi, my name is Kathy Stroud. My husband and I have lived in Westminster for over 30 years, and we have 3 children who are now successful young adults. We moved here for the outdoor lifestyle, vast open spaces, and thought it was a great place to raise our children. And you know, we were right. It was all those things. However, I'm not too sure we would make that same decision today. Westminster has the crowding, it has the high density, it's unaffordable. If we were to come here today, I honestly don't think, I don't know, we'd have to really look at it versus the other cities in the area. It's really not the same place it once was. I'm not sure why the people here at City Hall are transforming Westminster, but it is to the detriment of our current residents who want to live in a nice, peaceful suburb with plenty of open space in which to roam with their children or even grandchildren. I believe there is still time to reclaim Westminster, or I would not be running for City Council. We all want our kids and grandkids to live in vibrant yet safe cities and have a great growing up experience. As our own kids started elementary school, I volunteered in each of their classrooms every week, helped with or managed their sports teams, stepped up to be my daughter's Girl Scout leader, and was the treasurer for my son's Boy Scout troop. As our kids got older, I worked as a substitute teacher in the Jefferson County School District, was a corporate trainer that specialized in personal finance and helping people reach their goals, and I am a local small business owner. I've always stepped up where needed, so here I am, running to keep Westminster, Westminster, and not let it turn into Little Denver.
Thank you. We have 2 additional candidates that weren't able to be here tonight because of work obligations, Obi Azadi and Kara Huck. You can find more information about them on their social media channels as well as their websites. With that, we'll transition into the question and answer portion of our forum. I will ask the question. We'll have 3 candidates go. I'll repeat the question, and the remaining 3 will answer. We will start this round with Ms. Nirmala. The first question is, what steps would you take to ensure Westminster's regulatory environment is business-friendly while protecting community interests?
So as a community development director by day, these are things that I think about on a regular basis on how to make development and building permits and the licensing for businesses an easier path. And we do have a sometimes difficult process to get through, and I think that's not to the detriment of our business community, but it's for us to be able to make sure that they're able to build out safely, and it's a process that ideally could be shorter. As city council members, we don't have a lot of input on that day-to-day outside of being able to influence staff to look at our processes and try to make them more efficient and transparent. And so that is something that I think we've been able to do over the past 4 years while I've been on council. What we do is, in addition to just the regulatory process, is also provide business grants to help businesses get off the ground and make improvements into their buildings and into their businesses themselves. And I think that's one of the best ways to support our business and community. I also believe strongly in going out to other businesses to bring in more businesses for primary employers. They actually help provide our smaller businesses with, they serve our businesses for, they work with our businesses and they provide employment and for our residents. And so that's what I would continue to push for and approve economic development agreements that get us there.
Thank you. Mr. Romero.
Councilor Sarah's not wrong. You're going to need to work with city staff, and you're going to have to grant grants for those buildings. So I agree with her on her statement there.
Mr. Oden?
Yes. We have regulations, obviously, in place. We need to work with those within our framework. I know that we have a comprehensive plan of what gets used where and what kind of businesses can go in. And I, too, think we should actually entice, I guess is the word, businesses that will employ more into our spaces. We don't want to have to travel downtown or whatnot. If we had a nice employer base here that had a lot of jobs, that would be great for the people that live here. We're not on the streets all the time traveling. You can get to work and back really easily. That would be a great boon for our city. I don't know what the comprehensive plan is right now for the city downtown, our new downtown, if we have put aside some of that land for those kind of projects. That would be great if we did, because quite honestly, I think we've approved enough dense housing in our downtown area with no parking.
I think we'll come back to Mr. Johnson. I'll repeat the question. What steps would you take to ensure Westminster's regulatory environment is business-friendly while protecting community interests?
Yeah, I think for me, the most important thing about the business environment and our regulatory interests are that the core of our business community are our workers in this community. And I think for a lot of workers, it is really difficult to work and live in Westminster and to live where they work because it is continually unaffordable. And so when I think about how we can grow businesses and develop business interests here in Westminster, I think about how do we support working class people who want to work in Westminster, who want to live here and live where they work, but who are unable to. And for me, it really comes down to both what can we do within our existing resources as a city to support those people, including looking at things like childcare, where many working class people have a hard time finding childcare, and therefore it's difficult for them to enter the workforce. But also new and innovative projects, like a project that I just heard about with a fellow counselor in Modesto, California, who's a friend of mine. They're starting a project where they are reducing regulatory burden of people who are in the working class who want to start their own business, and doing a business incubator program where they are partnering with churches so that if you have a job and you want to know what it's like to work in a food truck, you can use a church kitchen for a weekend and try to run a business. And if it works out great, then you can decide that maybe you wanted to run a food truck. And if it doesn't work out great, then maybe you realize that running that business isn't for you. And so new innovative ideas like that are going to be really important in trying to continue to foster business growth in our community, and reducing the regulatory burden and entering that market through small business is going to be really important for our future growth.
Thank you. Ms. Calavity.
Yeah, one of the things I'd really like to see is promoting more contracts with existing businesses in Westminster rather than I really resent a lot of the outside interests that are taking over, and seeing that some of the existing businesses are not given the same opportunities or the same subsidies. And so I would really give an advantage to businesses within Westminster to help them thrive and contribute to the community rather than keep on outsourcing to outside corporations or businesses. Another thing that I'd really like to see is a local shuttle that goes from South Westminster up to North Westminster and would accommodate shoppers so they don't have to use a car. They could take in the services and the events at recreation centers, at businesses from South Westminster all the way up to the orchards in North Westminster, and promote businesses by virtue of having a local shuttle that services our community rather than our public transportation seems to focus on getting to downtown Denver. And I do go downtown Denver, and I use public transit when I do because I don't like to park and deal with that stuff. But I think we can do for our own community what we tend to focus on making a destination of downtown Denver. And I think that would really help our local businesses to have a shuttle service within the community, help people get around.
Thank you, Mr. Nuanas.
So I agree with your ideas of going and having a shuttle service like the old 16th Street Mall where you could go and commute down, you could park your car on one end and it would take you around, and businesses were thriving in that area. That sounds like a great idea. For Westminster, as well as what it used to be on that mall. The thing that I think that we need to have is an easier path for small businesses to basically get established. We want to have local businesses here. We want to have small businesses here, mom and pop shops, ones that you grew up with. My father used to take me around to all of these sandwich shops that he would visit while he was out driving his truck, because he was he drove a dump truck for a living, and we would stop around the areas at just random places. And these were the places that I remember from my childhood. These were small mom and pop businesses that we just don't have anymore. They've all been taken over by things like Subway or McDonald's, and who wants to stop at one of those, right? I would much rather visit somebody that's actually going to hand make me a sandwich, and maybe it costs me a little bit more, but that's something that I would like to see come back to Westminster. And to do that, it would be basically me, trying to work with city staff to see what we could do to kind of establish easier paths for small businesses, as well as incentives that would bring those businesses here so that we could actually get those back into the community.
Excellent, thank you. We'll stick with you for our next question to go first. Just as a reminder, we get a note that some of the candidates are quiet, so sit a little bit closer to the mic when you're answering the question. We'll start with you, Mr. Nuanas. Housing affordability and availability play a big role in Westminster's ability to attract businesses and a talented workforce. What role do you believe City Council should play in addressing housing as part of Westminster's overall economic development strategy?
So I think that if you look on Zillow, you can see that housing prices are going crazy everywhere. They're just unaffordable to all of the people that are coming out of colleges that are trying to start a family. I remember when I started out with my first house, we were talking about something that costs $125,000, something that we could just manage to afford on my salary to basically get into there, and that was a starter home. And now you just don't see the starter home mentality around here anywhere. Who can buy a starter home for $500,000? It's just not practical. And what I'd like to see is that the city go and invest in something that's actually affordable. I'd like to see developers that can build houses, maybe even townhomes that are a lot less cost, so that people could get those starter homes and establish some equity equity so that they can actually build on that and move on to future homes. That's what I'd like to see out of the city. And again, all of these things is nothing that I can accomplish on my own. I'm just one person. I'm one vote on city council. I would have to work with experts in city staff. They have a lot more experience than I do in planning, executing these kinds of projects, working with developers, and I'm going to have to rely on them. I'm going to have to rely on what their opinions are and question, but trust what they have to give me. And that's what I would think I would do as city council.
Thank you, Ms. Nurmela.
It's so nice to not have to go first this time. All right. This is part of my day job to bring in affordable housing to a community. And I think that's important for us because in order for our businesses to attract employees, they have to be able to afford to live here. When I first came to Westminster 14 years ago, I rented, and it was difficult even then to find a place that my small family could afford to rent. I was not able to buy on my own with my husband and my salary. We had to have help from our in-laws just to be able to buy in Westminster 11 years ago. So this is a story that is common for a lot of people, and I've watched people that I know have to move away, and they also can't move here. And this is critical for us because as we bring in businesses, they have to be able to attract employees to live here. And not only that, but we have people that are finding it hard to stay in their homes. We are just aging as a community and as a region, and over time our senior population is going to double. We're all going to be on fixed incomes, and we are not going to have, will we be able to afford the home we live in? Will we be able to move out of it and find a different place in Westminster? We have to, as a community, think about how do we help folks that are having trouble staying in their homes, whether that's through our grants to help people make improvements or to rental assistance, water assistance, or water bill assistance. But we also need to work with developers, both nonprofits and for-profits, to bring in more affordable opportunities, whether that's rental or ownership, into the community. And that's something that council has to make a decision to do.
Mr. Romero.
I just don't want people to continue moving to Thornton and Reunion and not here in Westminster. So, one, I do think we have plenty of apartments, so we need mixed housing types. We need more single-family houses, more townhomes to allow people to stay in Westminster. I think that's critical. We want them to stay in every stages of life. That includes, like I said, middle-class families all the way up to senior living. So, we need to push for partnerships with the developers, including affordable units. I agree that we need to figure out how we can give them grants and affordable programs. It needs to be done because we do have a little bit of an age gap if we start seeing it. We're becoming top-heavy on one side of the group. It's mostly senior citizens if we look around. So we need to start building affordable units for the middle class so that they can stay here. Because, truth be told, if we look around, we don't have those options. It's not affordable options. They go to other areas. So I believe that we need to have developers here, have programs here, and I think that's what City Council should focus on.
I think I'll repeat the question. Housing affordability and availability play a big role in Westminster's ability to attract businesses and a talented workforce. What role do you believe City Council should play in addressing housing as part of Westminster's overall economic development strategy?
Well, I'm hoping the City Council can be a leader in the affordable housing area, and I mean affordable ownership. I believe Philip and Jeremy both mentioned we have plenty of rental units, but that doesn't give our young people or people starting out skin in the game. They need to buy something. I have 3 kids, like I had mentioned earlier. My oldest did buy a house in Thornton at the time, and I can't remember the year, quite honestly. Westminster was too expensive. And he did buy a house in Thornton, and he moved there. When my daughter bought her townhome, we were able to find something in Westminster. Now, I advised all of my kids, get something with 2 or 3 bedrooms so you can rent out the other bedrooms and have your renters help pay your rent or your mortgage. So that was, that is something, I don't know any other parents in here if they've given that advice, but yeah, if you're single and you don't have a family, that is a good way to have your kids get a piece of the pie. They rent out to, I think my daughter has an Airbnb, 1 room, and my son rents to a longtime renter. But it's how they're getting their foot in the door of that home ownership. But I'm thinking the cities could help out a little bit. When I grew up, there were little 900,000 square foot homes that were starter homes. A yard for a dog, you had some kids, a couple bedrooms, and perhaps we should get back to that little model. We don't have to all have a McMansion out there. So that would be my thought. I'm hoping city government here can direct that.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, thank you for the question. I think, as someone who is a young person entering this community, when I tried to buy a home, I did buy one of those 900 square foot homes as my starter home, and it was barely affordable. And it was barely affordable because it happened to be, I was able to buy that home during the pandemic, and interest rates were at 2%, and I could not afford it today. And the reality is that City Council has not only the opportunity, but the obligation to really be the leader on this issue. And the way we develop this city going forward is going to be critically important, and who we decide to do it is going to be important. And the reason is because we all talk about affordable housing and how important that is, and truly the problem is that the definition of affordable housing that we often use is housing that is no more than 30% of your monthly income in a general area, and then you look at that area's average monthly income, and the average income is $120,000, $140,000 a year. That means that someone entering the workforce, it will never be affordable then, even if it's affordable for the surrounding residents. And so we need to change the frame, and that includes not only the way when we talk to people who are developing housing, but also when we talk to our city staff, and really talk about affordable housing, not in terms of the numbers and not in terms of the strict definition, but in terms of what it actually means for people who are looking for housing. And I agree with something that Mr. Romero said, which is that affordable housing is not, and our housing goals are not just on the front end and how we enter, but also on the back end, because we need to build a city. I've worked a lot on building codes and building standards where people can age in place, because if people aren't able to age in our city, if we build houses that have a bunch of steps so that when you have a mobility disability you can't live there anymore, we are forcing people out of our city. And so I think it's important to look at both ends of that spectrum and make sure that we build a Westminster that's affordable for people who are entering our city and affordable for people who want to stay here.
Thank you. Ms. Calavity.
Yeah. Dealing with a husband who was so healthy at age 82 and then was using a walker and a cane and a wheelchair. 4 years later, I agree with Jack that, and the emphasis in some of his later years was, well, go to an assisted living, it's like, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I don't want to be visiting my husband in another facility. I want to be able to live with him, but I want to have a space that's available. And to that end, I think we can, there's some big houses owned by some older people. That was not our situation, but I know I think we can make some of the big houses in Westminster amenable for sharing, turn them into duplexes so that people can age in place in their own home and then have the other half of it or whatever be available for a younger family who can actually help the older people as well. I think this dependency on developers to find all the solutions. I mean, I'm sorry, developers are in it for the money. That's not a housing solution when you're just accessing people who are into housing for the money. We have to come up with creative solutions without developers who are looking at their bottom line versus what is really a solution for housing.
Thank you. For the next question, we'll start with Mr. Romero. City decisions around budgeting and taxation directly impact businesses. What principles would guide your approach to Westminster's budget and tax policy?
Can you ask that one more time?
Yes, city decisions around budgeting and taxation directly impact businesses. What principles would guide your approach to Westminster's budget and tax policy?
Well, I'm going to go with budget. I'm zero-based budget kind of guy, so zero-based budgeting forcing us to justify every expense from the ground up instead of rolling over old numbers. It promotes accountability and ensures residents know that their money is being spent wisely. I'm always going to do that approach. It's a challenging process, but it's worth exploring. That's my first and foremost thing there. Also, I'm always going to be about the transparency. Transparency starts with the clear, accessible budgets. It supports publishing every easy-read summaries, holding community budget forums, and making sure it's spent wisely. Can you give me the second portion of that question again, please?
What principles would guide your approach to Westminster's budget and tax policy?
The principle of just making sure it's spent wisely. I hope I answered it good, and that's it for me.
Ms. Stroud.
I'll try to answer it without having you repeat it. I'm a fiscal conservative, and I know I've done budgets for, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, my own family. First, if you don't have the money, you don't spend it. Second, you spend within your means. So if you have a budget of, I'm just going to pull a number out because I don't know what it is. Let's say you have $1 million to spend. Well, you don't go out and spend $2 million. That's just, I think, basic knowledge that should be common sense. But somehow when we get into the public realm, because it's not your money, it's the taxpayer money, they go and they spend more. Oh, we're going to borrow it. Oh, we'll just put that on the tax thing. We'll have a tax increase. That's what we'll do. And it just has this tax and spend kind of mentality, which we've got to stop. We've got to realistically understand our wants versus our needs. Let's fund our needs. And if we have extra, okay, let's think about the wants a little bit. But if we don't, I mean, if you're a family sitting around the table and you have X amount of dollars and you've got to pay rent, your light bill, your water, everything else, and you're just, you're down to your last $5, do you plan a trip to Disneyland? I don't think so. I wouldn't. We've got to be smart. We have the public purse in our hands, and it's our tax money. We all are paying into it, and it's irresponsible to pay a dime more on frivolous things when we don't have the money. So yes, I'm a fiscal conservative.
Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, this is a question that I'm sure Shannon Bird, if she's watching, would love to hear. State Representative Shannon Bird, when I was first running, I called her and asked if she had any advice as a former city councilor, and she said, my advice to you is also homework. The first thing you do is you have to read the city budget, and then she sent it to me, and it's 400 pages, and it's all kinds of spreadsheets, and it was important because what she told me is that you only have what you can pay for, and really the city's services that they provide you and the things that they do, everything that you need to know about the city is in the city's budget. And it was really enlightening. And as someone who works at the state level with the State Joint Budget Committee almost every day, what you learn is that the budget is really important because the budget is what shows you your values. If you value things like affordable housing, that should be reflective in what your city budgets. If you value things like our firefighters and our fire stations, that should be reflective in your budget and the budget work that you do. For me, it was really important because it's, one of the reasons I decided to run for city council is that I am the president of my HOA, and I see many of your eyes rolling in the back of your head because you hear HOA, and I love the job, and I love the job because I get to manage a $500,000 budget and really get to utilize that budget and the power that is in that budget to help solve the problems that are in our community. And so we know our decks are falling apart. We move some money around and we make budget room to replace people's decks, and it's things like that that are important. So for me, when I talk about budget and I talk about tax policy, I want our budget and our taxes to reflect the values of our city. And I think that it is really important for councilors to not only understand the budget, but really press upon city staff that budget needs to reflect the values that the council has.
Thank you. I'll repeat the question. City decisions around budgeting and taxation directly affect businesses. What principles would guide your approach to Westminster's budget and tax policy?
Well, I want to piggyback on Jack's mention of Shannon Bird, because that is something I meant to bring up. Is Shannon was responsible for making condominiums a lot more affordable and doable. And so when we're talking about housing, which we were the last question, I do promote the idea of condominiums. But as far as budget, I mean, I'm seeing the city council approve these high dollar projects like the new city courthouse and the water treatment plant, and I just am aghast at terrible spending without researching alternative ways to do things. I mean, we've got to respect a budget and the resources that we have and the projects that we should be enacting. And some of those things are just crazy and out of hand. And it's like any consultant who comes to town tells us what we need. Oh yeah, okay, we'll spend $43 million on a new courthouse. Oh yeah, we'll spend $250 million on a water treatment plant. I mean, that's nonsense. And that's one of the things as a city councilor, I would make sure that we're much more responsible, especially about our big ticket items.
Mr. Nuanis.
So I have some of the same sentiments that she has. I think that borrowing money for a courthouse, $43 million, that's something that probably should have been voiced and heard by the taxpayers. Borrowing money to build the $250 million water treatment plant is another one, because we're borrowing against money that we all have to pay back, right? That's eventually the bill is going to come due, and we're going to be on the hook to pay it if we're still able to stay in our houses and survive. So that being said, I think that most of us, we live off of a budget. Right? We actually have to put what our needs are first. We have to say, hey, I need food, I need water, I need shelter. We put those needs above going to Disneyland, going on trips, fancy things like incentives that we pay to developers, stuff like that the city council needs to put our core services first before they start dishing out money and incentives to all of these businesses that we really can't afford. And especially we can't afford when we're borrowing, like I said, almost $300 million, putting us in debt on stuff that we didn't really budget for. And that's what I hope to have work with staff and be on city council with people that have that same like-minded philosophy of let's go with our needs first.
So I'm going to assume most of us in this room have borrowed money to pay for our homes, and that's how we're living in our homes. and we didn't save up $400,000, $500,000 all at once to go pay for them. This is something that we do as cities as well. And as you know, the debt service that we pay on those on the bills for for what we borrow is something that we factor into our budget. And why do we spend money on a new courthouse that's 50 years old? Why are we building a new water treatment plant to help pull us away from a facility that is over 60 years old? We do this because we are thinking about our future and our future needs. And the longer we wait, the more damage we have to fix if we don't get ahead of the improvements that we need to make. So a balanced budget is all about what are our priorities today and how do we not sink ourselves tomorrow. And that brings us to looking at what are we doing for maintenance and services now. We have to maintain our facilities, and the community wants us to have great parks and programming, but we also have to think about, well, how do we actually make money in the city? Did you know that 65% of our general fund revenue, which goes towards our street improvements and all of these great things that we have, comes from sales tax revenue? So we have to think about how do we continue to have a vibrant economic environment that brings in continued sales tax so we get to live the way that we currently live and have the great facilities that we have. For me, my principles in budgeting are long-term fiscal resilience, efficiency, and making it accessible to our community.
Thank you. For our next question, we'll start with Ms. Calavity. Often councils focus on the immediate needs of the city. What is one initiative or investment the city should work toward now to benefit the city long term?
Well, as I brought up before, I really think public transit, a shuttle service that operates from the north end to the south end of the city to help people who don't like to drive, don't have a car, but could facilitate shopping at businesses, visiting recreation centers, open space areas. I really think that would be money well spent, and I also know that there are grants available. It's not just something that would have to come out of a city budget, but I think it would help overall the businesses and the residents in the area to have a dependable shuttle service within the city, and that's one of the things I would like to promote first as a long-term, short-term goal.
Mr. Nuanas.
So I think one of the things that the city should do for long-term growth is we should have more open space. We should have places where people can come together and they can get together and have a good time. Downtown, there's a nice little park that was put in right across from the taco place. I don't remember what the name of the taco place is. But on the other side, there's the JCPenney's. And to me, that little area was a good addition to the downtown Westminster where people can come together. And from long-term growth perspective, I see that what we need to do is we need to provide more of these spaces where people can come into our city. We need to provide parking that people can come in and they can spend their dollars. We want to attract people from other places like Thornton and the surrounding areas so that they can come here and spend their money so we can collect the sales tax and reinvest that back into our community. Something that I think was a great addition to our community is the Trader Joe's. I know I love going there for all the snacks. It's the only place that I can get jelly beans that I can actually eat, and it's a great little addition to our community because it attracts people from all around. And that to me is what we should be doing for City Council is in the short term we should be making things like that easier and giving incentives for businesses like that to come to our community because that only just generates more revenue for us.
Ms. Nurmela.
So I think we should be focused on how does our garden grow. That is on maintaining our property tax values and continuing to bring in sales tax revenues. That is something that will help us, again, as I mentioned earlier, maintain our ability to invest in streets and infrastructure and programming and more open spaces and parks. And so not to beat a dead horse, but let's look at Trader Joe's for a minute. We worked on staff when I was working for the city for many years to try and attract Trader Joe's to the downtown site and just to Westminster in general. Do you know why they wouldn't come? It's because we didn't have the density of households in the area. We didn't have the incomes. And now that the area around City Hall and the downtown has, multifamily development and higher incomes, guess who's here? Guess what we get to enjoy? And those are the things that actually multifamily housing and housing options in general bring to our community. And so we have to be looking at how do we continue to diversify and plan strategically for growth in areas where we can and should accommodate for that, and also be thinking about how do we keep that alive. Another element that is important to making our city vibrant is reinvesting in our commercial centers, working with businesses to build out their current businesses and reinvest, but also continuing to bring development here. If we shut the door on our city, we wither away and die because we are not building new economy. And I just want to, I guess I'll end there. Yeah.
Mr. Romero, I'll repeat the question for you. Often councils focus on the city's immediate needs. What is one initiative or investment the city should make, should work toward now to benefit the city long term?
I'm going to speak from the heart. I am concerned that 3H may not pass. And that's for our fire department. I think the most immediate need is for the fire department, because having them respond in 4 seconds is critical, or in 4 minutes, because that is critical, because that is the time that they need to respond if someone has brain damage. That's something that we need to take into consideration. That right there, having the fire department respond in emergency needs is a critical life safety issue. That's something that we need to think about as a city, and that's something that I believe in, is making sure that our firemen have the equipment, have the fire stations, and that's been something that's been put on my heart recently as I have been evaluating the needs of the city. So that's an initiative that I've been thinking about if I was elected to city council, that we need to take care of that, because that's like having life insurance or having health insurance. Making sure the fire department having their equipment and having their stations, that's like having insurance. We need it, correct? So making sure that they have their stuff is important. So that's an initiative that I would like to see taken care of.
Ms. Stroud.
Hi. I think I liked what Jeremy said on the open spaces. We used to put a lot of money into open spaces, and I know that that is one of those things that people gravitate to. We had a disc golf course at City Park, and I'm not sure if that's coming back. I've heard 2 different stories about that, but it got taken out. And when I've talked to people about that, they said people from all over the Denver area came to our disc golf place, and because it was the best, I guess, course. And these people, if they're coming in, guess what? They're grabbing lunch after they play. They might go see a movie. They're going to see what else Westminster has to offer. If we offer a lot, more money comes into our city. Yeah, we need the businesses. We want to have, the restaurants, the theaters, the places that people want to go to, but we have to have something that would attract people in. And like I said, we used to put a lot of money to our open space. I'm not sure that's happening anymore. It seems like we're building on the open space now. So I'd like to get back to that and make us a world-class city. I would also like to put more bike paths off the roads. If we could have bike paths going everywhere where they're not commingling with auto traffic, that would really be great. My husband he got hit by a truck on his bicycle, and spent 6 days in the hospital and had multiple surgeries. Thank goodness he made it through. But that's because he was out on 72 and there was no bike lane out there. So I would like to see that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I think, first of all, we've heard a lot of great ideas. I support more public transit solutions. I support, I support more business development, more open space. I think I want to highlight what Mr. Romero said. I think that funding our fire stations is critical, and I think that that is a future need. And a story about that I find entertaining is when people talk about the fire stations and they ask, why is the response time, continuing to go up, and why do we need a new fire station? It's not because we're lighting more fires as a city. It's actually because our city is getting older, and those medical calls as a city that continues to age continue to go up, and the complexity of those calls continue to go up, and I think that is a problem that is not going away. And it's something that if we don't invest in now, it will only continue to get worse because our city is only going to continue to get older. And so I think it's a worthwhile investment, an important investment, and I'm going to give you one more because I'm a lawyer and that's what I do. For me, it is really important that we invest in a justice system that works for everyone. I think our city does a poor job at creating a justice system that is comprehensive and that is also fiscally responsible. And I think that we could save over $1 million a year if we created a better justice system that holds people accountable, but also creates reforms that allow people to move forward. And so, as a lawyer, that is very important to me. As someone who interacts with our justice system every single day, I think that we can do a better job at saving people money and doing a better job at creating a more holistic justice system that works for everyone. And so that's a long-term solution that will save us all some money.
Thank you. I appreciate all the candidates sticking to your time limits tonight. I've got one last question. I'm looking for a one-word answer, so it won't be timed. It was referenced that the city has referred a question to the voters. 3H, which is an initiative to fund our fire department, paramedics, and roadways. If you can give me a one-word answer, approve, oppose, or neutral. We'll start with Mr. Johnson.
Approve.
Neutral.
Neutral.
Approve.
Approve.
Neutral.
Thank you. And Ms. Stroud, we'll start our closing statements with you. 2 minutes.
Well, I would like to see our city come together, fight the congestion. I know, if you've driven along 92nd anytime recently, that street seemed to have been strangled a little bit. Also, there's houses that seem that their living room is kind of right on 92nd. I don't know who approves these kind of buildings, but I betcha that they're not going to ever want to live in one. So I think we have to have a little bit more smart thought go into how we're developing the land. Every square inch doesn't have to be built on, or it could be built in such a way that it doesn't put life, limb, and property at risk. So that's number one. The traffic congestion. And by the way, I know there's people that want to get people out of cars, but if you strangle the roads, you're causing more air pollution, more traffic, more time lost, more natural resources going up in smoke, or from the cold fire plant that does your electricity for your car. It doesn't matter. It's just a waste of time, and people get frazzled. So I just want to reiterate, we moved to Westminster long ago because it truly was a special place. However, it is moving in the wrong direction with all the congestion, high-density housing, high water rates, and ever-increasing taxes and fees. If you would like to see Westminster restored to its glory, please don't vote for the people who got Westminster into this mess. Instead, vote for me and the other new faces here tonight that still believe good days are ahead for Westminster. My name is Kathy Stroud, and I hope I've earned your vote.
Mr. Johnson.
You know, the one thing that stands out to me more than anything else tonight is the thing that I heard the most, which is I agree. And I think that's important to remember, is that many of the people up here in front of you agree on really important issues that our city is facing. And most important is that they feel like they can work together. One of the things that I think is most important to me, and the reason I'm running, is because we are at a time now where we need leaders that you can trust. We need leadership that you can trust. I want you to be able to vote for someone who believes that, whether it's problems with potholes in our roads or whether it's your civil rights that you think that are at stake right now in this country, that you have a leader that you can go to. You have a leader that you feel like you believe in. You have a leader that you feel like will listen to you when you have those issues. And most importantly, you have a leader that you feel like can solve those problems. And so every day I solve problems for people, whether it's in the courtroom or in the community or in a schoolhouse. And so I really would appreciate your support, and I hope that I can be a leader that you can trust. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, this is my third time running. I hope to get on the council because I really think I could help make some changes that need to be made. I do think our natural resources are at risk, and open space is a natural resource that I think has been put at risk with sloppy development, sloppy planning. And I would really like to work with staff and with residents to help our natural resources be protected. Again, a focus of mine now has become, as I'm getting older, and my husband was 19 years older than I realized that an aging population doesn't have to be a burden per se, and that's how older people seem to be treated. And I would like to be able to make sure that we as older people fit in and actually help create a better community rather than being siphoned off to some old age home or something like that. So these are, and renovating or re-envisioning the historic Westminster and making sure that that's a thriving place of business would be a major focus of mine, because I think that's a real lost opportunity as it is now. I just want to say that I'm last on the ballot, but I would like for you to please keep me first in mind when voting for your next city council person.
Mr. Nonis.
So like I said before, diversity leads to better decisions. That's why Westminster City Council, we have 7 members with unique perspectives. You've heard them all tonight. A lot of us can, like we said, agree on things. We also have other things that we don't agree on. But on November 4th, I ask you for your vote. You can elect me. I'm number 5 on the ballot. I'll work to make sure that every one of your voices is heard and represented. We can build a safer, smarter, and more connected community because we are all stronger together. And I would just like to thank all of you guys for coming out tonight, spending your time with us, and listening to us, while we have this forum. And thank you guys for putting this on.
Mr. Miller.
I do agree with Jeremy that diversity is fantastic on a council, and that's one of my values. And you can see that, we do have a lot of 6-1, 7-0 votes on this council because we come together as a team, and we collaborate, and we compromise, and we get ourselves educated, and we give each other time to look into things, maybe spend a little extra time. We spent more time figuring out our water treatment plant, and guess what? We actually found a way to make it smaller and more efficient and save $100 million. Those are the kinds of things that we do together on council as a team. It also, one of the benefits of having diversity is that each person brings some strength to the team. And what I bring, again, is a true understanding of how cities work and how they can stay resilient well into the future. I understand Westminster from the inside out. I've been working for the city in some way, shape, or form for 14 years. On council, I have been able to help create a new revenue source that's not from our taxpayers, but from the commercial side, but it's a fair share of paying for traffic impacts, and that's going to hopefully bring us in $800,000 more for our street improvements. I also have brought an idea for a bill roundup system so that we can actually increase our water bill assistance by approximately $30,000 to help folks stay in their homes. So I hope that you know that I bring strategy and efficiency and innovation to this dais. I also bring a belief in my fellow council members that we can move through difficult conversations and still find a way to respect and care for one another. Please take a look at my bio on sarahnormella.com.
Thank you. Mr. Romero.
First, I want to say, everybody that's up here, you guys are all good people. On this journey, I've learned that about every single one of you. Don't let politics or opinions ever separate that or make you feel like you're not a good person. This has been a great journey to learn a lot about you guys. I have loved this journey to meet so many of you, and I've loved this journey of serving you all. If I'm elected, I will serve you to my best of abilities. I will research, I will understand, I will ask questions, I will fight for you. And if I am not elected, I will still continue to do that to serve this community, because this community is worth it, because I care for all of you, and the city is fantastic. So I appreciate you guys coming out and spending your night with us. Thank you, and God bless.
With that, we will conclude our City Council Candidate Forum and transition to our Mayoral Candidate Forum. Before we do that, I want to thank the City of Westminster for hosting us tonight. I also want to recognize that running for office at any level takes a level of dedication and courage, and you all have had a respectful discussion tonight, made my job really easy. So if you would join me in giving a round of applause to all of our candidates tonight. I have 7:40 now, so we will take a 5-minute break. We'll return at 7:45.
I'm good. I got plenty of those. Thank you. That's new ones.
If you have not found your seat, please do so. Just as we did during the City Council Forum, each of you will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement, followed by 2 minutes to answer each question. Timer's right there. If you go over your time or hit time, I will interrupt you. Please stop then. We'll move to the next speaker. We'll start each question randomly. We will start with Ms. Carmelia, if you could give us your opening statement.
I should know how to use this. Thank you all so much for doing this, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting. I am running for mayor to continue my work to pull us together in a more collaborative manner, our city with our neighbors, with our counties, with our schools, and with the many organizations within our city that do nonprofit work. And I'm running to continue to establish the trust that I have been working to rebuild between our council and our city, the residents, and our council and the staff after we've had several years of turmoil. I am pragmatic, I'm strategic, and I'm well-rounded technically and deeply committed to my community. By day, I'm an IT project manager. I understand budgeting, I understand timelines, I understand return of interest, and I also understand how to work with stakeholders at all levels of an organization, which is what I bring to council. And then I'm on about 5 different boards and committees, including our Regional Transportation Committee. Transit has become a passion of mine recently. I'm a Rotary member, and I'm a deeply committed volunteer. And I want to give back to the community that has shaped and formed me, and that deserves all of our work as we collaboratively work together to fill in the gaps that sometimes our most vulnerable residents face. I am here because my personal story has deeply defined who I am. I personally am from an unhoused family, and I went through the foster system. And today, I work hard to give back to the community that gave me an opportunity, because I believe that every single resident, despite your economic status or background, deserves an opportunity here. Thank you.
Mr. DeMott.
Thank you to the Chamber for hosting tonight, and the city for allowing us to have this forum here tonight, as well as all of you for participating. My name is David DeMott. I've been on City Council for 8 years. I ran 2 times prior to that. I originally got involved when Jessica Ridgway was taken from the community, and she was a friend of my daughter. That led me to activate and get involved. I helped with the efforts at the Memorial Park that they made for her, and from there I ended up deciding I was going to run for City Council, and I've served you for 8 years. I'm a 26-year IT professional with 14 years of executive experience. I'm the only person who's running that has that level of experience, both on council as well as professionally. I've worked with 3 different mayors, 3 different city managers, many different council members, probably a dozen plus. In my time, we've reduced water rates, and we've saved over $100 million on our our freshwater plant. As well as we've reduced the vacancy rate for our police department to single digits, which is something that's great for the metro area. I bring a level of experience that neither of my opponents do. I look forward to this conversation tonight and continuing to serve the city.
Mr. Baker.
Well, really thanks to everybody involved, and we have a wonderful opportunity tonight, because I'm sure everybody in this room has made up their mind. So we've got to change some minds if we are going to come to a conclusion. I chose Westminster as a city to live in. We looked all over the Front Range. Chose Westminster because it has wonderful opportunities and it has a wonderful track record. We control our own destiny. We control our own water. We don't have to beg Denver to give us water. We control our own fire department. We control our own police department. We're supposed to be able to control our own planning department. Okay? That means that we can shape our future. And right now, we're shaping a bad future. If you go back in time 20 years, the leaders of this city were shaping a good future. This was an affordable suburb. They were VA homes and FHA homes, and everybody could buy them, and everybody did. Then we got to a water rationing thing and had a competition, got some nicer neighborhoods out of it. But now the biggest challenge we face is to live up to the values we claim. I've been on council 6 years. We don't live up to diversity. We're afraid to discuss different opinions. Different opinions are shut down, or worse. I'm going to change that as mayor, and we're going to listen to all our members of council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. We will stay with you for our first question. Westminster competes with other cities for talent, employees, and investments. As mayor, how would you represent and promote Westminster as a destination for businesses and families?
A city is attractive because of what it offers. And if we offer a fair playing field for everyone, we're going to attract people, whether it's businesses, whether it's families, whether it's employees. We've been seduced into thinking we're all the best of the best. There's a line in Men in Black when Will of the Smith is being really recruited to the Men in Black, and he's there, and there are all these captains and lieutenants of the different military services and everything else, and the guy, Kay running the guy, says, "Do you know why you're here?" And one of the bright young men pipes up and says, "We're the best of the best." And Will Smith says he has no clue why we're here. We don't have to be the best of the best. We have to be competent, adequate, and fair. When we give incentives to businesses, you think we're buying them? No, all we're doing is we're raising the base, and then all the rest of the cities try to match us. Well, that's a loser's game. We don't win anything, not for the cities. The businesses win, of course, but not for the people who live here. We've got to stop doing that. We've got thinking in terms of that. We've got to make a good, decent city, and that'll attract people.
Ms. Carmelia.
I think we need to be strategic. Once I am in the mayoral position, I can elevate our city's position in Colorado through the Metro Denver Economic Development Corporation, and through them, we can work strategically on a regional level to bring jobs to our city, both on a statewide and North Metro Denver regional level. And then we can also use the Metro Mayor's Caucus, where we can work on a bipartisan, more collaborative way than we currently do to elevate this community. And we then get access to regional economic development, and we just need to remember that we're stronger with our neighbors, and through them we can often bring jobs and advertise the current businesses that we have here. And then we need to be working on drawing key attractions to our city, which we've currently been working on already. It's already been mentioned, but we had a huge win when we got Trader Joe's here, which I believe was 6 years in the making. But we're currently focusing our work on our downtown by opening up our Red Lotus Den. We just had our groundbreaking for construction there, and we've been working with our economic development team to ensure that we have key attractions throughout the city that ensures that we have our neighboring cities coming to shop in our city, which through that sales revenue bolsters our infrastructure that we so need. And then we can make sure that we're working strategically again through our counties who offer services. We have our workforce center here for Adams County in our city, and we can better collaborate with them to find and bring jobs for the folks that need jobs in our city and partner with them through community events. And we have partnerships with our Jefferson County side as well that we have not taken advantage of recently, and so we just need to make sure that we're connecting our people to our opportunities and providing opportunity for all in a more connected way.
Thank you. Mr. DeMott.
Thank you. So I think first it's important to know that the City of Westminster already houses 67,000 plus people in different sectors, from aerospace to business support services, technology information, hospitality and entertainment, healthcare and life sciences, financial services. Those are the different areas that people already have those many jobs in the city. And the reason we've talked about it, or you heard about it from the candidates earlier, some of what employers are looking for is housing. So I would point to the uplands, as we heard also about starter homes earlier. And I would think it's important for people to understand that those starter homes, unfortunately, are at those prices, partially because of construction costs. We did not hear one single council candidate talk about that fact. Some of those things are outside of our control. But that kind of housing and the multi-housing, those are things that businesses look for when they go to a city. I know that because I've been here long enough to hear how it works and what we do in order to attract businesses. They're looking for different options from housing. They're looking different options for food and restaurants and different activities that they can do. Our economic development department looks at the balance of the different kind of businesses that we bring, and we need to make sure that we're giving them the tools in order to do that stuff. The other thing that I would mention, I think it would be bad to go without saying, working with our business chamber. The city in my time has strengthened their relationship with the business chamber. The mayor often goes to the different businesses and does ribbon cuttings and things to promote those different businesses that come to the city. That shows that strong partnership between the new businesses, the current businesses, as well as our business community.
Thank you. We'll start with you, Mr. DeMott, on this one. How would you improve the planning, permitting, licensing, and development process to make it easier for businesses to start and grow in Westminster?
I'd go back to our economic development department and partnering with the chamber. I know that they actually are already doing that. The chamber opening up your new office in the downtown, I know that there is a lot of shared activities that our economic development team is actually doing with the chamber, and that's important because government can come up with all the great ideas and council people can come up with all the great ideas in the world, but at the end of the day, the businesses know what they need, and they know what they need to get through a process. Same with development. You have to figure out how to streamline those processes, make them the most efficient as possible, break down barriers in terms of cost, and that is working with those different partners to understand, what they need to survive. I part-time, besides being a technology leader, I also manage at my family's restaurant, Pietro's Pizza in Wheatridge. If any of you ever been there, it's been there for 61 years. I was raised in that kind of environment by my cousins who taught me my first job, washing dishes, and worked my way up to cook. I've seen them in the different struggles that they've had in their business over the years as things have changed from government regulations. So working with those businesses at the ground level to understand what they need to survive is very, very important. And that same method carries through to development. And when we talked about earlier tonight, when you were talking with the council candidates in terms of housing costs, that it also reduces affordability to housing, which, as I said earlier, that lends to different opportunities to bring different businesses into our community. So those are important partnerships that we have, and that's how we, make sure that we are doing the right things by our business community, development community, and ultimately the people who live here in the city of Westminster.
Mr. Baker.
Repeat the question, please.
Yes. How would you improve the planning, permitting, licensing, and development process to make it easier for businesses to start and grow in Westminster?
Well, I think about 8 or 9 years ago, council talked about having a kit that someone could come into council and get the kit, and it would give them a guide to how to do that. I don't think we ever did that. That would be really helpful, because I've seen more than one example where, and the one that comes to mind is somebody bought a hardware store. But then as they tried to go through the process of getting it, they were surprised by one thing after the next thing after the next thing. Like they had to put a fence around the air conditioning units on the roof of the building and stuff like that. And you can say, well, the real estate agent should have done a better job. But I think if we had a kit that we could give the people and it gave them all the checkpoints, that would be very helpful.
Ms. Carmelia.
Thank you. Well, as my colleague, Mr. DeMott, just mentioned, we have been growing our partnership with our chamber, and I think that this event here is a really strong example of that. I myself was a very strong proponent of the partnership between our city and the chamber for our new downtown development, and that helps our community overall to flourish, and I think that's one example of the many ways that the chamber can offer assistance and advice in an area such as this. And so first, I would look foremost to them to ask them, how can we best improve processes for our businesses? And then I would say that there are easier ways. I've talked to folks on the doors, and often they have the hardest time coming up from the very beginning, let's say with food trucks on offering food. I want to make it easier to permit with our city on food trucks and opening brick and mortar restaurants, because that strengthens our city culturally and improves a lot of our diversity, because many folks coming here, that is often the best way that they can make money for themselves and their family, especially for our immigrant neighbors. And I also want to say that our economic development team has been doing a great job by holding trainings over, I don't know how long, last several years. I know they did a great series this past summer for our businesses, and they've been offering trainings to anyone who wants to hold a new business within the city. I highly recommend you go to them first, because they will tell you ahead of time how to avoid fees that can be easily avoided, and they will help you with the process to get your business going. That said, I think that we can work with them to figure out, how do we streamline our processes further? How do we get more deeply engaged into our community to ensure that folks know about it? Because I know that my former roommate initially, who is a refugee from Ukraine trying to start his first business as a contractor, didn't know how to get his licenses up and running. And so I want to work with our city economic team, get our training out into the city, and then figure out with our chamber and them how we can streamline it a bit better.
Okay, Ms. Carmelia, we'll stay with you. What is your 5 to 10 year vision for the city of Westminster, and how does the business community play a role into that?
Thank you. 5 to 10 years, I would really, what my vision is overall, is a more engaged and transparent relationship, as I mentioned earlier on, between our council and our community. I want to close the gaps between our neighboring cities, our counties, our schools, and by doing so, what I mean is I would like to see us hold town halls with our school boards. I've reached out to them. There seems to be an appetite for that, which is fantastic. I want to increase our town halls with our 2 counties, and then folks have one place to go and they know what's going on. And then I want to make sure that we are going to you to engage you and educate you on what it is that we do, because many of our citizens don't even know what it is that a council does. And so at our town halls, we should be education first, and then you have more context to understand what it is we're doing in regards to our budgeting, in regards to our annual plans long term. And then I really want to better connect the community to our many partners within the city, and the chamber is one strong example of that. I want to increase our engagement with the chamber, especially with our new downtown development, but also in key strategic areas like the Orchard Center, the Walnut Creek Shopping Center, et cetera. I forgot the second part of your question.
How would you work with the business community to achieve those goals?
I'm already talking about it. Fantastic. So, and ultimately, I would work with the business community to figure out how we can help you draw and attract key attractions to our city, because ultimately, when we get really key businesses to our community, that attracts the right folks to want to create the proper housing developments from there, and then that further draws and attracts other businesses to want to shop here. All of that funds our revenue, which is how our city makes its money. Our sales tax revenue then funds our infrastructure, and we need this whole cycle to continue to be successful, and so slow, sustainable growth meaningfully is my plan.
Thank you. Mr. DeMont.
Thank you. So throughout the night, you've heard a little bit about 3H being the tax initiative that helps us fund our fire department needs, which is we already paid for one station, we need an additional station, then we need firefighters to fill those stations. We're going to add $2 million to neighborhood streets. I bring that up because that is part of long-term vision planning already going on, that we've already started doing outreach with the business community. When we had that conversation, I specifically brought up the fact that we needed to partner with the different stakeholders being our fire union, our business community in the chamber, and those are things that we've done as we've went through this journey of giving the option to the taxpayers in order to say, here is a tax initiative that is a long-term investment into the city and the services that we provide, which are core, safety being the first thing that municipal government provides, and we ask them, to partner with us in looking at that and what the right structure for it is. So that's something that we've already been doing in the time that I've been here. Long-term, public safety is the foundation to everything that we do. I've been very committed to that, from our fire department to our police department, hence why I've earned the support of different former fire chiefs, police chiefs, as well as the Fraternal Order of Police Union. I'm committed to working closely with all of those groups, as well as our business community, and continuing to figure out what makes the best sense for the city of Westminster. I think collaborating with our neighbors is great, but I think that at the end of the day, people live in Thornton because they like Thornton. I've stayed in the city of Westminster my whole life because I love the city of Westminster, and you've seen it through the service that I have given to the city. That being said, we need to do what's right for the city of Westminster, the businesses here, and all the folks that we serve.
Thank you. Mr. Baker.
Thank you. Really, 5 to 10 year vision? I want us to be a suburb. I'm proud of being a suburb. I have no guilt about being a suburb. There's a lot of pushing of that. We became a suburb, and that's where the American dream came to full flower. They were no longer segregated communities. And with the VA and FHA loan financing them, everyone had access to them. They depend on cars. When our city takes car lanes away from Federal Boulevard, and I've seen a plan to change 72nd from a 4-lane street to a 2-lane street. I know on like 92nd just here, we made one of the multifamily builders take a lane away from 92nd Street. Well, if you can't get around in a suburb, that doesn't help the residents. That doesn't make it attractive, that doesn't make it appealing, and it doesn't help any of the businesses. Okay, we got to recognize we're a car-dependent city. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It is a reality that we have to face. And until we knock down entire neighborhoods and build high-density housing, it's not going to be a walkable city. It can't be done. Mass transit's a failure. RTD takes 1% sales tax of every dollar in the area, and it squanders it. There's not one train line that pays for itself. What are they, light rail, tramways, whatever they want to call them. Different rules for each one, of course. It's a failure. So let's recognize that. Let's recognize who we are and be proud of it.
Thank you. We'll stay with you, Mr. Baker, for this next question. In your view, what should the role of the mayor be, and how would you work with a city manager-led staff?
Okay. We need a leader as the mayor. We also need 6 more leaders as council people. And our council needs to bring ideas to council. And then we need to find something far more difficult. We need to find the courage to bring our claims of honoring diversity and different opinions to life. I've spent 6 years on council where that didn't happen. I remember one of our really police chiefs putting it wonderfully, because he was talking about what are the challenges in the police department. And he touched on comfort and custom. And comfort and custom, in his view, were the main challenges of our police department. And the more I thought about that insight, the more I felt it applied to almost every institution we have. The fire department, the city council, maybe the building department. We're afraid of new ideas. And worse, we're afraid to talk about them and explore them. And some will be not very good ideas. But as a wise man once said, you can examine an idea without embracing it. We need to bring that to life on council, and the mayor's going to have to be the person to lead that, and I can do that.
Mr. Carmelia.
I believe strongly in public servant leadership, and yes, that's also from the PMBOK, but I am a project manager, so that makes a lot of sense. We recently hired our city manager, who's been here for a dozen years, but he's been here for a year, and his solid leadership has proven that we can rely on him and that he understands what the needs of our staff and their departments are. And I say that knowing that we have some of the best staff on the Front Range. We have the Triple Crown Award for our finance and budgeting department. Our fire department, I believe, is one of 8 departments between the U.S. and Canada that has as many accreditations or awards as they do and certifications. I know that multiple departments on our team are working towards accreditation currently. And so all of this to say is that residents need to know that we have some of the best teams on the Front Range, and they deserve the respect that they've worked with our community to build. And I will promise to listen and work with our city manager to really understand the needs of our city. As I said earlier, public engagement is one of my #1 priorities, and I promise that our city and its leadership will come to you to listen to what your needs are. And then once we understand what it is that we have depending on the issue, once we understand and we have the stakeholders together, we'll make sure that we discuss those with the city manager and get them done to the best of our ability. All of that said, I'm a listener, I'm a learner, and you are the leaders. And when you look at our org chart, the citizens of the city are at the top. Then it's the mayor, and then it's the city manager and everyone else, because we're here to serve and listen to you.
Mr. DeMont.
Thank you. I'd start off with, that's a good point with the hierarchy of the city, but you elect us to do a certain job and we hire a city manager to do a certain job. In our charter, which I'm nerdy enough that I've read our whole charter multiple times, and I recommend anybody who runs for this office should do that because you're swearing an oath to our charter, state constitution, U.S. Constitution, so it's important to understand. And so the municipal government provided by this charter shall be known as council manager government, pursuant to its provisions and subject only to limitations imposed by state constitution. By this charter, all powers of the city shall be vested in elected council. Council hires 3 people. We have our city manager, a city attorney, and the judge. It's very important that we know which lane that we're supposed to be in and how we work with them. We make the policy, and the city manager implements the policy. I think the thing that's my favorite about city government is we actually have professional staff that comes to us and gives us ideas and tells us what we need to do. We get to work with them. We go back and forth, like you heard earlier with Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela. That is where we do our work. We do our work right over there. So oftentimes you come out here, if we did our job well, we usually do all agree, or it's 1 off, 2 off, because we've already done that work working through the city manager with their professional staff, because that's the form of government you have. In the mayor role, you really need somebody who understands the way that this all works. They understand the form of government we have. I have 8 years experience, and like I said, I've worked with 3 different mayors. I've served as the mayor pro tem for 2 years. I understand our form of government. I have a great relationship with our 3 employees, and that's important because ultimately the leader of this group is the one who is working with the leader of the organization, being the city manager. So you need to understand how all it works and it's put together. And out of the 3 candidates up here, I'm the best suited and most experienced to be able to do that for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Dumont. We'll stick with you on this next question. How would you work with your fellow city councilors, local organizations like the Chamber, and residents directly who may not agree with your position on an issue or your policies in general?
Thank you for the question, and I love this question. One of the reputations that I have is to be able to work with my colleagues and figure out how, as the mayor says, pull little threads from each person that we work with to figure out how we can incorporate that in the policy that we make. We've heard here tonight from some of the council candidates that we have 7 different voices, and that is very much true. Each one of these people that are up here were elected by you, the people, maybe different sections of the people, but at the end of the day, the constituency of Westminster sent those people here to work here and represent the people. So for me, I've always thought that it's really important for us to be able to pull something from each council member, which is a different part of the city, different part of constituency, so that we come up with the best policy for the city of Westminster. Where we work with different folks like the Chamber. We've mentioned it earlier, the different things we've been doing in the downtown and our economic development. Some of the other things that I'm passionate about is our nonprofits. We do some different grants and things that we do for folks here in the city, but at the end of the day, I've been always very passionate that there is some nonprofit that will do anything, from homelessness to court advocates with CASA for young people to the Ralston House. Those are all organizations that are serving a different purpose at a different capacity, and they're doing that through fundraising with the generosity of residents of the city. Those are the kind of partnerships that we need to foster so that those folks can do the work that they're good at, we can do the work that we're supposed to do for you all. So it's one big ecosystem. So those are the different things that you've seen from me over my 8 years, and you'll continue to see with me if selected as your next mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
And would you repeat the question?
Yes, how would you work with your fellow city councilors, local organizations like the Chamber, and residents directly who may not agree with your position on an issue or your policies in general?
Well, first of all, to respect my fellow council members. Right now, that is greatly lacking on council. And that hinders the operation of council greatly. And we also lose a valuable resource when, a majority rides roughshod over other voices, other different ideas. And you have to listen and then try to understand the different ideas. That's like a fundamental American value for the last 50, 60 years. It's not just a game. It's just not a theater where we say we're doing that. You have to actually bring it to life. And that includes the Chamber and all the other entities that have something important to say. You have to listen to what they say, and then you have to do a terrible job of presenting the idea we have. We choose the wrong words. We use the wrong allusions. We make the wrong references. And all we do is irritate the person we're trying to communicate with. So you got to have tough skin and an open heart.
Thank you, Ms. Carmelia.
I like that last line. I'm going to start from there. You do need to have an open heart, and I do listen with my heart and my mind when I come to you. And so, as I already said, I'm focusing on better communication with our community. I'm focusing on better collaboration with the many different stakeholders. And I believe that it is our city's and the mayor's responsibility to ensure that we come to you so that we pull you in, and that includes our unions, our chamber, our business community, even if you're not within the chamber, our senior living, assisted living homes, and our communities, whether if they can get here or not, we should still be hearing their concerns. And so I am someone that will come to the table with an open mind and an open heart, and I will listen to you because that is what we're here to do. We are here to put service in government for your needs. And so if your needs are not being met, then it's our duty and our responsibility to ensure that we work to meet them. And so if I agree with you or not, I promise to listen, and I promise that my mind is not made up when I reach the dais, that I'm taking all considerations at heart.
Thank you. And we've had some wonderful support from city staff tonight and all of you sticking with us. So my most important job is to just get everybody home on time. So like we did with the council forum, I'm going to end with a one-word answer question. The city has referred ballot question 3H to the voters for funding of our fire department, paramedics, and roadways. If you could give me a one-word support, oppose, or neutral. We'll start with you, Mr. Baker.
Well, oppose, no.
Yes.
Support.
And then, Mr. Baker, if you can kick us off with our closing remarks. 2 minutes.
We have a wonderful city here if we can save it. And to save it, we have to live up to the values we proclaim. Are we an inclusive city or not? Or do we X out people we don't like? Call them names. We all know what's going on. We also have the courage to to admit where we failed. The new downtown is $100 million failure plus. When I was first elected to council, I begged and pleaded with my fellow councilors that we relook at that. In 2013, I wrote them a long letter. In 2014, I was in the window. In 2015, I was in the window. I even found some people to run for council. I don't know how we're going to get out of that mess except leave a huge burden on the taxpayers, because that's the way urban renewal areas work and tax increment funding works. And we've never acknowledged that tax increment funding takes money from our school districts and our counties. Just schools get a little bit back from the state, 27 mils, but the rest they get to secretly raise taxes on everybody in the district. Counties get nothing. They're just short the 25, 26 mils of property tax for 25 years. And that money was supposed to be used to pay off the bonds that were taken out at the beginning of the URA. But in the case of the North Huron one, we used some of that money to build a nice masonry wall around a fancy subdivision. We need to have the courage to admit where we've failed.
Ms. Carmelia.
Thank you. I'll say I disagree with my colleague here. Westminster is a strong, beautiful, resilient city, and I'm here to work to keep it that way. This campaign is about community, it's about collaboration, and it's about common sense solutions. I am a hands-on problem solver. I get my hands dirty, and I work with you to do the hard work of figuring out what the right solution is, and it's not always easy, and it's not always a one-word solution. It can take time. But I am here to cut through the distractions, be them political or otherwise, and I'm here to deliver results. I'll say that I'm running for mayor to ensure that every single family and business and neighborhood thrives. I'm here for everyone. And I'm here to ensure that every resident gets a fair shot, no matter what their background is. Because when people contribute and they work together, that diversity makes us stronger and builds a formidable, united city. And to build this resilient city, we need to ensure that we are investing in deepening our public engagement, to know our neighbors, to boost our community morale, and to drive down crime. Targeted action works when we coordinate with our police and our fire, and we get out to our neighborhoods when we have more public engagement so that residents know who our policemen are, so that they know who to contact and when. And it makes sure that we all know each other so that we can call each other by name. I just want to remind folks that while on council, I promised strong stewardship, and I've kept my pledge through both my actions and my votes. I've listened to you on difficult decisions, and I've built partnerships with our schools, our legislators, our 2 counties, and our numerous nonprofits. I want to say that I will continue to keep a sharp eye on accountability, and I will continue to be here and work for you.
Thank you. Mr. DeMott.
First of all, thank you again to the Chamber and to the city staff who are here tonight that allowed us to do this, as well as all the residents who showed up and those who are watching online. I'm proud to serve the City Council for the past 8 years, working hard to bring community where it is today. My vision for the city is simple. It's to be a safe, thriving, united city. Those are the things that we've worked on in my 8 years. Some of the accomplishments: lowering water rates. Historically, I can't find a time where residential water rates were ever lowered the way that we did. We also included increasing of the middle tier, which really helped the pressure that was put on people by the rising water rates. I raised my family here. I have 4 kids. My wife and I decided to buy a house in the neighborhood I grew up in. My folks who are sitting over there, they live about a half a mile from me. I love this city, and I've worked very hard to be able to serve it. It's been an honor to be able to serve it for the last 8 years. And I will just go back to the point that I've reiterated throughout the evening. I have 8 years of experience, worked with 3 different mayors, 3 different city managers, and that does matter for the position of mayor. The position of mayor is going to be the leader of the council. They have to know how to work with different mindsets. I have shown shown through my track record that I can work with anybody who sits up here if they're willing to work with me. I'm able to accomplish things with anybody who sits up here if they're willing to put ideas forward and actually have a conversation, which is two people actually talking and two people actually listening. I have the track record to do that. I have the experience to do that, both professionally as well as serving you on the city council. So I look forward to being able to continue to serve you for the next 4 years and hopefully 4 years beyond that. And I would appreciate your vote in November. You can find me first on the ballot, and you also can find me at daviddemott.com if you want to find more information or find out ways to reach me.
Thank you. That will conclude our mayoral candidate. I want to thank city staff. They've been wonderful to work with tonight, supporting us in this event. I'd also like to thank our police officers in the room and their colleagues out on the street keeping us safe tonight. I also would like to thank Jamie Chavez, CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and Parker Brown, Chairman of the Board, for helping manage time and keep me on track tonight. And last of all, our candidates, all three have served on council at one point, so they know what they're getting into, but it does take a lot of courage and dedication and time. So if you would join me in recognizing them with a round of applause. With that, I will turn it over to Jamie for a quick announcement, and we will be out of here.
All right, well, I'd also like to thank Brian Head for moderating tonight. Thank you so much for keeping us on track. Thank you, everybody who came to participate and hear our candidates. And thank you, of course, to our candidates for all participating with us tonight, and to the City of Westminster. And then just a final reminder, we do need to move all conversations out of the building so that the city staff that's allowed us to have this discussion tonight can get home at a good time. Thank you so much.